a look at the Premier League weekend that is coming up ahead of us because it's boring at the bottom of the table. We've known the three relegated sides since week one of the season. And it's boring at the top of the table because we've known the champions since probably I'd say about Christmas time. Liverpool have been pretty much coasting their way there, haven't they? But we do still have, in my opinion, the best ever Champions League race I think I've seen. You've got five teams competing for it from third to seventh, and it could go any way because of one fixture that at the start of the season was probably pegged to be a very boring final day, Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. But here we are with Nottingham Forest sat them with, let me just make sure I get this right, 65 points in 7th place, and Chelsea in 5th place Champions League spot, 66 points. How do you think that game's going to go?
I mean, let me just get sorry. Who knows? You don't know. It depends what Chelsea's going to turn up. I mean, they've gone through purple patches and then they've just gone completely off the rails. At the same time, Forest, they've been great all season, and they've just slipped off it at the wrong time. And I mean, I'm looking at the recent meetings, the recent results between the teams.
Yeah.
And you could not pick a result out of this. You know, you've draw, Chelsea win, Forest win, draw. That's the past 5 results. I cannot call. It would not surprise me if it was a draw. It really, really wouldn't.
Which doesn't help either of them, really, does it? Because a draw comes through. Aston Villa are playing Manchester United at Old Trafford. Do Man United have it in them to be the party poopers and stop Aston Villa? They did draw, was it 0-0 at the beginning of the season when Man U were also potentially at their worst. Is there a surprise on the cards? I'm going to call it an upset because we are talking about a team in 16th place versus someone challenging for Europe. Certainly got Europe, whether it'll be Champions League. Is there a chance that Manchester United can cause an upset?
I think the only way we can answer that is once you see the lineups. Because if it's me, Amarim's either going to go full strength, put players out that he doesn't want, and he's essentially putting them up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and get yourself a move. Or he can field players that he wants to work in his tactic, he wants to keep, and some kids.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which I personally, for a fan, I'd prefer him to play with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And, play with the players.
He's got to play to win. He has to play to win, in my opinion. I mean, look, there is a sour bite at Manchester United right now. They've got 1 point from their last 5. They lost the European final. And that's 5 games, by the way, so 1 point from the last 15. I don't know what the form goes past that, probably worse. They've just lost the European final. I don't think he'll get sacked. I don't see that happening. But he needs something to get the fans off his back. Because if they end this season losing a European final, 1 point from the last 18 available, that just gives nothing for Man United fans to go on, does it?
No, I mean, thinking about it, you get an extra 3 million for every place you finish, higher up you finish as well.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the results, they can finish an extra 2 positions higher. That's £6 million,
which they need.
Which they're gonna need because they're not gonna have European football money, and they're gonna miss out on X amount of home games in Europe as well, and all the money that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tricky one. On paper, I think, to be fair, even if he fields a strong team, I think Villa have it in them. Are they at home? No, they're
No, it's at Old Trafford. This is what I mean. This is a big game for Man United. Away, I think they turn over and just accept their fate. But at home, I know it's not old. Look, I know Old Trafford isn't what it was 10 years ago, or 15 years ago even now. But it's still Old Trafford, and it's the final game of the season. don't know what their record is at home in the last game of the season, but I can only guess that it's quite strong.
Villa aren't in a bad run of form. They've
Nope,
won
absolutely not.
4 of the past 5. They only lost to City. I know they played Spurs. They beat them, beat Bournemouth, Fulham,
That's not easy though. Both
Newcastle.
games are hard games. Both games, Bournemouth
Don't
and
forget they absolutely battered Newcastle when
yeah,
Newcastle were in very good form as well, and they made them look amateur.
yeah.
I, for me, I think that's 3. It's going to be 3 points for Villa. To be honest,
All right.
I can't see anything else other than 3 points for Villa.
Okay. So we're saying what we're saying. If you had to put one on we'll go back to the Chelsea and Forest game quickly. Well, if you had to put one on that, gun to your head.
If I had to pick, what a result?
Yeah. Well, just a result. Yeah. If you say draw's fine.
I'm going to go draw. I
Right.
don't see anything else.
Okay. So we've got Villa. I personally think Villa will slip up. I think it'll be the shock. I think that will be the shock. There's definitely a shock result coming right this weekend, and I do think it could be Villa, because everyone would write off Man United, and there's a chance there is another shock result that could come out. Newcastle versus Everton. I know it's at St James's Park. Everton under David Moyes though, don't be fooled by their Premier League table position. They've won their last 2 games against Fulham and Southampton, but still. Yeah, Southampton doesn't really count. But don't be fooled by this Everton side, because as much as it pains me to say it, David Moyes he's as much it dropped off recently. He definitely fresh breath of air, isn't it? He's come back and they're not an easy target anymore.
It is great to watch them with Moyes, because under Dyche it got really stale.
Oh, it was terrible.
There was no creativeness. They were still defensively good, but that was the Dyche way.
Yeah.
Under Moyes, they're still defensively good, but there's attacking threat about them. They go for wins. They don't just go for the point, but they go for the win. So it's great to see. I mean, personally for me, is Isak back?
He's a maybe, isn't he? I think.
Again, like you say, I think this could be the slip up of the weekend. This could be the one, because they were poor against Arsenal. I mean, the other 3 games they played Arsenal, they'd beat them. Each one having Isak playing, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, they weren't bad against Arsenal. They just didn't have Isak up front to latch on.
I mean, he makes such a difference, doesn't he? He makes a huge difference. I mean,
he's massive for them.
It's not just the fact that he's Isak. Look, all respect to Callum Wilson and the Premier League career he's had. It's been quite a good one, fairly consistent striker, but he is just past it now. Injuries have done that to an extent, I believe. He's probably going to go on a free this transfer window. I don't think they'll keep him on, and they are going to be looking for a new striker to deputise Isak. If it's Callum Wilson up front against not Michael Keane, Tarkowski and what's his name? Branthwaite. I don't see a goal there. Could Anthony Gordon get one from the left? Absolutely. Could Harvey Barnes get one? Yes. But and Jacob Murphy as well. He's been quite good as well. But nothing's going to come through that middle. There is no way. If it's Isak, absolutely. But if it's Callum Wilson, them 2 defenders will have him in their pocket all day. They are good enough to keep going, and it won't be easy for Newcastle without Isak. I'm not, like I say, if he plays, it could be a different story, and I think Newcastle win if he plays.
It's not just Isak that were, to be fair, it's Joelinton.
Yeah,
it's Joelinton. Because I think Bruno and Tonali are great in that midfield, but
they need that
who's
engine.
the workhorse?
He's the engine.
Who is the one that'll run and do the dirty work?
Mm-hmm.
Joelinton.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if them 2 are missing, it's going to be tricky. If you had to put a gun to my head for this one, I think I'm still going to have to go Newcastle, just because it's at home.
Yeah.
I think it'd only be a slight side. I'd only go for like a 1-0. But I just think if it was at Goodison Park all day, every day, Everton.
Yeah.
But at St James's Park, knowing what's on the line, I think the fans are going to be right up for it. I just think they might sneak it.
Yeah. Fair enough. I agree. I do think Newcastle, like I say, my upset is actually Aston Villa, and I don't think there's two upsets in it. If two teams in this out of the five in this Champions League race somehow manage to mess it up, then that is incredible. But yeah, I personally think Aston Villa will be the ones to drop points, and Newcastle, I think, look, it's either going to go cagey or Isaac's going to be there, and they'll trample it 3 or 4. Honestly, like if Isaac's there, I think your prediction changes, doesn't it, to a Newcastle riot almost. But without Isaac, it's going to be very, very cagey. The last team, the most boring one really to talk about is Manchester City. However, we talk about slip-ups. Going away to Fulham, Craven Cottage on the final day of the Premier League season. I mean, the one benefit Manchester City have, in my opinion, is a superior goal difference to Nottingham Forest if they do win. And the 3-point lead. That is the one big thing that is in Manchester City's hands. Obviously, that doesn't account for Aston Villa. If Forest and Villa win... No, if Chelsea and Villa win, and Newcastle, Man City need a win. Or at least a point. No? Yeah, they need a point.
They can settle for a draw.
Yeah.
Don't forget, are Fulham not fighting for Europe as well?
No, it's 8th now, isn't it? It's 8th because if Chelsea win, it's 8th. It stretches to. It's between no one. Yeah, but
because there's a goal difference wise.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Brentford play Wolves and Brighton play.
Yeah.
Brighton play Tottenham. So you'd assume my money would be on Brighton. Tottenham are partying. Yeah. They are hungover. They actually have done their trophy parade today. I'm pretty sure.
I see.
So they did not hold off. They went straight for it, and them players are going to be hanging because I don't think they've not come down from Bilbao. And look, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium will be a party central on that day, as they deserve it to be. But you know they're not going to be coming up with anything hard. And if Brighton want to win, they can win.
But back to City.
Yeah.
You said the Villa Man United game for you was a slip up.
Yeah,
the slip up game.
This is another banana peel, isn't it?
Personally, this is the one for me. It's not a big one because I think City, regardless, even if they lose and the other three, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Aston Villa win,
it has to go.
They've still got Europe. They still get Europe.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, they still get sick. They're still going to Europa League. I know they want to be in Champions League, but again, if the results go the way I think they're going to go, and Chelsea do only get the draw, then City will get Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Forest can't catch them anyway.
Yeah.
With that goal, there's not going to be a 13-goal swing. Watch a 13-goal swing now, and it's just like what? But I fancy Fulham. I know Fulham aren't playing for anything, but I fancy Fulham. I really do fancy Fulham for it. I think Craven Cottage.
It's the one day of the year where being at home possibly has the biggest advantage possible, in my opinion.
Yes.
Is the final day of the season because your fans are normally in okay spirits. You know, if you're a relegated side, they're going, look, we've known our fate for a while, you know, and we're gonna do it. If you're fighting for relegation to survive, you're gonna be in high spirits. I just think it is the most important game to have at home. If you're fighting for something. Yeah. If you're not fighting for something still, you've got your fans behind you cheering along your season that's done all right.
Yeah, and again, they can finish as high as 9th. But I just think, don't forget City played midweek.
Yeah.
They had midweek games.
They look good though. They look good.
Fulham have had a whole week off. They did look good, but I just think Haaland's not got his shooting boots on since he come back from injury. Mamouche.
Oh, that goal, bloody hell! Where was that in the FA Cup final? That's all you have to sit and think, isn't it?
But I don't know. I just think I fancy Fulham. For me, I'm going Fulham.
I fancy a draw on that one. I see a draw, like a 2-2 could stick out.
A draw.
And City will be taking that. And you know, if Fulham come away with a draw and City come away with a draw, Brentford, who did I say they were playing? Wolves. I could see Wolves winning that. Brentford going away to Wolves. Fulham would go up one place in the table. Man City would secure Champions League football. And I personally see that one going as a draw. So for me, just on what I've said, my top five is Liverpool, of course, Arsenal, of course, Man City, Newcastle, and Chelsea. So exactly as it is right now. Exactly as it is right now. Chelsea drawing with Forest, Villa losing, not able to capitalise against Man United. I know that's the crazy one. Newcastle would actually finish above City in that situation because they win and City draw.
It depends on goal difference.
Yeah, it would depend.
They'd need a fault.
I actually did say 4. I did say 4-0, 3-4-0. So,
I mean, what would mine be? Mine would be Liverpool, Arsenal.
In fact,
Newcastle,
4-0
Villa
would do it.
City.
Yeah.
City would finish 5 on mine. I'd have Newcastle, Villa above mine if I went with what I.
So Chelsea dropped out and Forest.
Chelsea dropped to 6th. Forest stay 7th.
So unfortunately I'm going to say this statement just to put it out there. Unfortunately for Forest, after their incredible season, they do not get Champions League. Now, I say that unfortunately, but I take that with a pinch of salt because I actually believe that could be beneficial to Forest in the long run. We've seen it this year. Chelsea have walked the Conference League and Tottenham have won the Europa League. Now, Forest, in my opinion, are a team very well built for knockout competitions. They love that counter-attack, circling the pressure, hit on the counter. If they were in the Champions League, I'm going to say it, there is no chance they would win. They would potentially get grouped and not earn much money. And the odds on them reaching the knockout stages would be quite slim. At the same time, it would be damaging to their Premier League season because they have to focus on their European football because there is a cash prize in it. You know, there's a lot of money in the Champions League. I'm not sure how much money is, let's say Conference League, because that looks like where they're heading by our prediction. I'm not sure how much money there is in the Conference League, nowhere near as much, but there is glory because, in my opinion, the Conference League is one of the best competitions that there is right now for emerging and challenging clubs. You know, it gives you that foot in Europe, it gives you a competition to fight for, and a trophy to potentially lift. And I think it's stupid for Chelsea because they are too good to be in it, and they've shown that. And their only real challenge is coming in this final where Anthony is going to be their biggest challenge. But I think in general, the competition is a brilliant one. And now that you can see Chelsea sort of where they belong, Champions League, and the other teams above them are where they belong. Yes, okay, Man U and Tottenham are out of the picture right now, but it's a great opportunity for these challenger clubs to get into Europe and have a real good time, I think.
I think, speaking as a fan that's, yes, from a lower league, I think looking at Forest and, Villa, etc.
Yeah.
I think playing in the Europa League and the Conference League, I'd love that. Because you're still playing in Europe.
Yep,
yeah, the money
absolutely.
of being in the Champions League and the players that you'd be able to bring in, it'd be great, but it's just so detrimental for your season that it just wouldn't work. You've seen it happen to Newcastle. Look what happened to Newcastle, the drop-off they had when they were in the Champions League.
Villa as well.
Villa, yeah.
They've recovered, but they've...
Their teams are too good. The English teams are too good to be playing in the Europa League and especially the Conference League. And as a outsider fan, I just think put Forest in. If I was a Forest fan, I'm thinking, yeah, I'd happily take that because put me in the lower European League
and give me a great night
and absolutely batter these teams and have a massive chance of winning a European trophy. You're gonna go into, or would you rather go into the Champions League, where you might get 1 or 2 good results. Yeah, you might be playing PSGs and Real Madrids and things.
And get some money as well.
And get some money, but ultimately you're not going to get out. You're not going to get far. You're not going to get to the playoffs. You're not going to win anything. Do you know what I mean? I think I'd rather the opportunity of being able to potentially go to a final and win a trophy.
Yeah, win the Europa League and win the Conference League, for example, go into the Europa League as well. I mean, you ask West Ham fans what they care about more, if the season where they finished 8th or 7th, or the season where they won the Europa League or the Conference League following that season. I think I know which one they preferred. And look, Forest, I know it's not what you maybe wanted because 3rd place for a lot of the season, big drop off, but I think at the end of next year you'll be going, I'm glad what happened. One way or another, you will have had some incredible European nights and so on. But you know what? If they beat Chelsea and Villa drop points or Newcastle drop points, Man City lose or whatever, then Man City's irrelevant in that one. But if they beat Chelsea and they leapfrog their way in, there's still a positive. It's not a bad thing to be in the Champions League. It just won't be as exciting, I think, as the Conference League or the Europa League.